Bro? Yen samachara? How's the project going?
Bro, it's going really well.
Okay.
You don't even understand, like, after the vlog in which you said about the ideation, right?
Okay.
I got like so many ideas and I've been implementing those in this project.
Okay.
And I think these ideas are really, really good.
Okay.
And you should definitely keep on making these videos. Don't forget that. But I'm getting like so many ideas, and I think one solution would work. I
Okay.
think this is the best idea that I can get off. But I don't able to understand whether these solutions work or not.
You're like, are these in the right direction or not?
Yeah, so see here, I think like you know the idea, right? So
Okay.
I think the solution is the best I could do.
Okay.
But I don't know whether the solution work or not.
Okay, got it. Crazy, bro. Lot of explorations you have done.
Yeah, bro.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, obviously there are ways in which UX designers understand whether their solutions work or not. Before I go into that particular topic, what I want to talk about is the confidence that you have as a designer in bringing up a proposal. I'll talk about it, and then I'll go to a topic in terms of validating whether your design is actually working, whether it really works for users or not, and all that stuff. The popular answer which you will get in at this point of time is, obviously what you can do is go and test with users. Usability testing, right? Go and do some research and test with users. That's a very obvious answer you will get, which I'll talk about as well, right? But before that, the common mistake people do is they think, since I'm anyway designing for users, there is nothing that I as a designer have over here in having confidence over my design. It's all that I have to leave it to the users. Users have to come and tell me if my solutions are working or not. Is a misconception people have, right? That's not how it works. Because ultimately, we don't leave the entire onus onto the users to tell us whether something is working or not. Because they are not the doctors. As a doctor, or in other words, I keep saying, no, you're not even a doctor, you're a medicine maker. Our job is to understand their symptoms, understand how is it that we can make their health better and all that stuff. But we don't rely on them, they themselves telling us whether something is working or not. Right? In fact, this misunderstanding even makes people do even usability testing in a wrong way. All they try to do is ask people, hey, do you think this will work? If they say it works, they'll say, yes, my design is okay. So that's why it's very, very important to understand how is it that as a designer, you yourself can be confident about the proposal which you are making. Okay. For example, let us say you have brought in this particular solution here. So let us say you have this over here. Okay. By the way, this is actually a student's project. This is her name is Ishita. Thank you, Ishita, for giving us this opportunity. It's actually a question which she has asked as she was doing the project under my guidance, and we have taken that as a concept for this kit. Thank you, Charan, for acting like Ishita. Okay, so this is a wonderful project she has done. For example, let us say this concept is there, where what Ishita is trying to do is try to solve a problem for multimodal transportation, having multiple transportation methods, for a single journey of a user. It's like a big idea which she has explored over here. Very good work she has done. For example, let's say you have these ideas, right? Now, what is important over here is, as a designer, okay, you need to remember this word called hypothesis. This one word is very, very important. What is the meaning of hypothesis? You might have heard this in your childhood, in your textbooks and all the practical notes you have made. All the theoretical practicals, senseless practicals which we have done. Hundreds of times we have written the word called hypothesis but never understood what it meant. Right? And how many times you saw this, whatever you wrote in the hypothesis is whatever you wrote in the conclusion as well. Yes. Just so senseless. That's the point, right? Anytime when we do any experiment, whether it's a scientific experiment or even in terms of design, what we put forward by ourselves is actually known as a hypothesis. What do we think works? It's a very established concept. We need to really, really embrace this. I'm not bringing this newly into the world of UX design. The word hypothesis exists, and it really means that what is your idea? What is your proposal? At this point, you have a point of view on what might work for users. In fact, that is what you started with. Saying, hey, you know what, this is a very good solution which I think it works for the users, right? Which you think. your confidence was not in whether this actually works for users or not, or whether this will qualify as a very good solution or not, but you had your own feeling about whether this works for users or not. That is something which is very important. A lot of designers do not recognize this and go to a lot of insecurity because they do not understand that they can also trust themselves as a designer, bringing in ideas from their own common sense with their confidence on what they think will work with users. Here I have to add one more point. Misunderstanding comes because people generally misunderstand this line, you are not the user. When I say you are not the user, what it means is, do not be a consultant for yourself. I'll explain what this means, right? That means do not be a doctor for yourself. Only that is what it means. That means don't solve the problem thinking you are the only user. It doesn't mean that you should not also think about other people, the large number of people as users. It doesn't mean that you don't have the freedom to think on their behalf. Ultimately, you will have to think on their behalf. So, on their behalf, what is that you are actually thinking is your hypothesis. In fact, even when you do research, it's not that by completely scientific ways you're coming and bringing what exactly they said or what they are feeling, completely putting yourself away. No, even with research, you're only putting your point of view.
Yeah.
Research is acting as an input to state your point of view of how you think will work, what works for users.
Sure.
Right? So the anchor is not the research. The anchor is your hypothesis. This is a very, very, very important point.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever you presented over here is your hypothesis.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, this is very, very important. Right? That's why I wanted to cover this. Right? Or else we'll always be only in these insecurities. Right? Now, this is the first step. The first step is to put forward our hypothesis.
Yes.
And I also add a few points in terms of making our hypothesis very strong. To make your hypothesis very strong, generally, whenever you make screens, right, what people do is they generally try to solve in terms of isolated screens. Hey, you know what, there is a problem over here, let me solve this particular problem over here. But what I generally help is to make your hypothesis stronger, you need to make it in empathizing the user, like in user's point of view. That is when you can really, that is still your point of view only, about what you are thinking which works for users, right? But then, can you actually put it in their point of view? A very good technique over here is to actually present your solution in journeys. You know what, Ishita is a very good student of mine. That's why you will find her solutions also presented very much in terms of journeys. See, she's presenting everything in a nice story. In fact, I've asked them to actually present it in terms of how the user is actually going to experience each and every step, right? As if it's like a video. In fact, I've asked them to write a script itself. That's why it is called final video script. So this is a very good technique to actually go and detail out every small step of what the user is trying to do and in their point of view, and jotting down all the feelings, thoughts, emotions and everything which they have while they're actually experiencing the product for their particular use case. Right? One example of the one largest use case of the largest set of users whom you're designing for. Even if you can do that, you will have much more clarity in the solution which you are presenting, and much more clarity whether it will actually work for your users or not, because you are actually taking the shoes of the user and presenting the solution in that particular point of view. Makes sense, right?
It really makes sense, yeah.
Right? So, what I'm trying to say is, instead of just presenting something in silos, present it in terms of a journey. This difference will really change everything. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, okay. So, this makes you put forward a very strong hypothesis.
Yes.
Then, let us come to the methods which we use to actually go and test our hypothesis. I'll be very careful not to use the word validate our hypothesis, because what happens is, even in usability testing, for those people who don't know what usability testing is, usability testing is to go and test with a bunch of users to try and, of course, usability testing is a much larger term. It's not just about testing with users, but one part of it is actually going to real users and testing your experience with them. You basically show them a bunch of prototypes, you give them a task and see how they are reacting, whether they're able to do something or not. Of course, probably in a separate video, we'll talk in detail about how do you do a usability testing, probably a live demo or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Please be subscribed to this video and hit like to this video as well, so that you will definitely get a notification when that video also comes. Right? We'll do that. But we should also understand that we should not behave like scientists.
Oh.
See, what do scientists do? They actually put forward a hypothesis in this particular manner, but you can call it science only after it is proved to be always true. They hunt for the truth. Even in science, you know this, right? It is called either an axiom or theory until it is proved. Even Ramanujan, our greatest scientists, would not call some of their theorems as science because they have not been proved yet.
Yes.
Right? That's the way scientists approach things. They'll wait and years they'll do things until something is actually proved to be right.
Yes.
But in design, we don't do these things. We don't wait until something is proven true, because that is a scientific method. Their aim itself is to do that, to establish what is the truth. As designers, what we do is we work for businesses, and as business, we help businesses take better bets, because we don't have years and years of time to do whether this product works or not.
Yeah.
We'll have to take bets. We have to gamble whether this works or not. So what we do in our testing is not absolute validation. What we do is just get some idea, some delta over what our hypothesis is, just to go and come up with a better hypothesis. That's it. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Better hypothesis. This word better hypothesis means that you are having some confidence right now. You did testing. Now you have slightly higher confidence that it might work. That's why one very important point to note over here is, unlike the scientific method where whoever does the experiment gets the same result, in this process, everyone gets different results.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And that's why the way you take it, your opinion, the way you are presenting your ideology, all of these things matter very much. And that's why as a designer, it is also very, very, very important to go and learn the skill of expressing your own point of view. That's why you see in the community, what do? I ask people to debate.
Yeah.
But the moment someone asks a question, I say, what is your point of view? You tell me. Don't worry about whether it is right or wrong. Tell me your point of view. Let's discuss it. Debate even my points.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, it is very, very important that you bring in your point of view. And through testing, you are just giving a better point of view.
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. So let's do this as well. Next, how is it that you can actually go and do testing? Right? There are few things which I can talk about testing as well to get this confidence.
Yeah.
See, firstly, one of the biggest rules when it comes to testing is, do not assume the patient to be the doctor. I generally use this story. That is, let's say you are the doctor. I come and say, doctor, please give me croissant. Right? And so is it through business? You won't give it to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because what is your job? Your job is to understand what my problem is and not find out the solution from me. You solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Or even in a product designer's perspective, right? We also don't even act like consultants. Like a doctor is a consultant. You are solving my problem. As a product designer perspective, you act like a medicine maker. So what do you do over here? You actually find out multiple people's problems and situations like what I am, and go and design a product called azithromycin or crocin or whatever. That's what you do. Now to do that, what you need to do, your job is in understanding them beyond the words which they actually say. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why what do we do in usability testing? We actually go prepared, not about noting down what are they saying, but how are they behaving. Right? So what we do is we actually make prototypes. For example, let's go to Ishita's file. If you see, Ishita has made a prototype over here, which she actually tested. This is a prototype which she has actually tested, and she has kept some proof also of the people whom she has tested it with. Very proud of my students, right? Okay, so, and she has even made a report of her testing. So what you do is, you'll basically go and make a prototype, a working prototype in which, you'll basically give a task, okay, and say, hey, you know what, you are in this particular situation, imagine you are in this particular situation, I give you this task, I want you to book a cab or whatever this particular problem is, and you give it to them.
Step.
The user actually tries and uses the particular product. While they're doing that, you already have notes with you where you've written, please observe these things as the user is doing. observe if they're actually scrolling and finding this option or not. Observe whether they are noticing the destination or not. Observe whether they're actually scrolling over here and finding out this less walking option or not. Right? Because you made these design choices and you're writing before you go to the test, you are writing down, hey, you know what? Observe whether the user is actually doing it or not. They won't tell you whether they actually found this option. It's not like, hey, did you find this option? That's not what you do.
Yeah.
If they naturally go and scroll, you note down that yes, the user is curious about finding the most optimal option, even without them telling. So the point is simple. You observe their behavior. Those behaviors, understand their behaviors. From there, you be the doctor. You be the medicine maker.
Yeah.
Right? So to get all that, the first and most important thing is your own hypothesis. You can't just go with the blank screen and go to the user. User, you find it. You tell me. Then they'll come and design. Ultimately, I'm designing for you.
Yeah, that won't work. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's right. So, if you take it in this approach, right? One, coming up with a very, very strong hypothesis. You having a very good point of view. You being very strong about your point of view. Very good in the way you articulate your point of view. When you bring in a hypothesis. Obviously, when you bring in your hypothesis, you have your own research as well.
Yeah.
You can bring in a lot of computer data. You can bring in what you have spoken to others. You can bring in, even if you did not do all these things. I'm telling you, there's also a misconception that a UX designer does research for every project they do. No, they don't. Right? In fact, in my work as well, I don't do research for all my projects. Right? For a lot of projects, I bring in my strong hypothesis on what I think works for the users. Because many times, our experimentation is beyond what we do as designers. We actually experimented by launching it and seeing whether it is working or not. Yeah. Sometimes the cost is much lesser to a company if I launch things faster rather than sitting and waiting and doing a lot of research and going with more confidence. Always remember the word gamble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So therefore, forget whether you've done research or not. It helps, but always have very strong hypothesis from your end. Bring in all the explorations, have a very popular opinion about it. Then with that, you can also go and do usability testing, and there also you're observing behaviors and understanding and coming up with validated hypothesis. No, better hypothesis.
Yeah.
Do this, you can be very, very confident about your UX solution.
Now I'll go and test it with the users, and I'll come back.
By the way, you know what? You don't have to always go and do usability testing, because usability testing itself is a very costly thing, right? To go and find actual users and go and test with them, you can't do a lot of rounds of them, right? That's why even to my students, right? Even we also, for not every project we do usability testing. Before all this, you yourself also can test. How? There are multiple ways to test. First of all, one is you yourself. Second, you also have peers. There are other designers, other people whom you're working with. If you're a student, you also have other students who are also learning with you.
Yes.
Right? You can ask them their opinion. That's common sense.
Yeah.
Right? You can show your solution to them and ask them their opinion.
Yes.
Right? Because this is basically like one doctor asking the opinion of other doctors.
Yeah.
That's something which you can use. It's a very popularly used thing which people miss. Right? They think only they own their design. I will not show my design to anyone else. Right? It doesn't work like that. Right? You will have to be very open to show your design to multiple other people. Let them give their opinion. Whether they totally understand you, other doctors might not understand you totally. It's okay. It doesn't matter. But there are few points which will come when they say, which are relevant to you. You consider only them and you can make your design better.
Achha.
In fact, peer reviews are so important that it also teaches you the importance of being a very good designer. Because you will go beyond the ego which you have that, hey, you know what, I have to always be right. And it opens up that feeling that, hey, you know what, my design is more important than my ego. I want the design to become much better. So therefore, I better talk to other people and get their opinion. But I will take in what will actually work for me.
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing. Next, coming back to how is that you yourself can validate it. Right? For this, one of the most important things, very, very good things what you can do, and all my students do, that is going and checking your design, or in other words, going and asking questions, self-critiquing your own design through the lenses of UX principles.
Okay.
Okay. Multiple UX principles. When I say UX principles, what's the first thing which comes to your mind?
Jacob's law.
Or more?
Heuristic principles.
Yes. Usability heuristics. Right?
Yeah.
Heuristics means thumb rules.
Yes.
Right? So usability heuristics Jacob's law and multiple UX laws which come into your mind, people generally misunderstand these things. They think, hey, you know what? There is this screen, I'll apply Jacob's law onto this. Like as if it's some jam which you will apply to a bread. Right? That's the wrong understanding of these laws and principles. Principles are supposed to be used as lenses. Right? You put on a yellow lens, right? The world looks like a yellow color.
Yeah.
Right? You put on the lens of a Jacob's law. Now you start looking at these screens and then say, hey, you know what? How familiar is my
Design.
design? People are also using this product in multiple other places. Can they also use this product? You use that lens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mr. Jacob is quoted for very wrong things like just copy paste others' design. That's not what he's saying.
Yes.
Jacob is saying have the lens that people are also using other products. Be empathetic. Don't think you are the only product in the entire world. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So use these principles as lenses. It will enable you to ask multiple questions about your own design. You see, let us say flexibility and efficiency of use. You put on the lens, flexibility and efficiency of use. Oh, how flexible is my design? How efficiently can a user come and
Perform an action.
use an action? Are there efficient ways of doing things which can also be done through the longer routes? You apply that lens, you yourself can start finding ways in which you can make the design better. Recognition rather than recall.
Yeah.
Crazy, right? Like, is there a way I am putting a user for them to, the difficulty of them remembering a lot of stuff, trying to recall. Instead, can I give quick recognition? You think about it already. Like, see, Ishita probably thought about. That's why she gave some options over here.
Yes.
Right? So fundamental principles acting as lenses can themselves be great assets for you to go and critique your own design. In fact, do you know what the textbook term for this is? Heuristic evaluation.
Yeah, very obvious. Yeah.
Right? This is the way to learn things, man, in a completely non-textbook way.
I'm literally getting goosebumps right now.
If only I told, do usability testing, heuristic evaluation, you would have like, thanks bro, I will not come to Excel. Learn things with common sense, and then all these words will make so much sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are multiple ways of doing. There is expert-based heuristic evaluation, all that stuff. But I'm using the technique as a self-critique method because you're just using these laws as lenses.
Yes.
Right? And you have hundreds of questions which you can ask about your own design. And of course, on that last important point about this entire thing, you will get hundreds of insights, which is great. It doesn't mean that you will have to work on all of them. We are humans. We can't just work on all feedback.
Yeah.
Please remember this. And this is also one more reason why people get very much stressed after doing testing. I have so much feedback, I don't know what to do. Just pick how much ever you can in the time you have. Go ahead, take it. Be more confident. Remember, better hypothesis, not the best solution out there. Better hypothesis.
Yeah.
That's it. The delta matters. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah, bro. Thank you so much. This just opened so many things in my brain. Just as I ideated, now I'll go and do self-critiquing, and if that doesn't get me better delta, I'll go and test with the users.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thanks to Ishita as well, right? And also thanks to all the other students who have been trusting us. All the inspiration for all the videos is actually coming from your questions. But most importantly, I should really thank all of you for trusting all this process, trusting the methodology, the ideology which we are actually presenting over here, instead of just going and doing things in a textbook way, trying to actually take time and embrace this non-textbook method and implementing all this in their lives and becoming genuinely very, very good designers. And I'm very proud of all these people because we might be learning things in a very, very slow manner, but we are definitely becoming very, very, very good and genuine designers out there. Right? So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for all the trust. So see you all for the next video. Bye.